Ramen shops have become an ubiquitous fixture around the metro, and you can typically get a bowl ranging from 99 pesos for a budget version to around 500 pesos and up for the imported brands. In the mid-range category, Ramen Kuroda stands out for balancing affordability, accessibility, and quality. And ubiquitous it is for having over 40 branches in the country as of the making of this video. A highlight for the Cubao branch because of the store layout is the extra wide window inside that shows off the open kitchen. This makes clever use of the wide or crosswise floor plan and gives passers-by an enticing view of the meal prep if they choose to get on the waitlist. I say this as this branch has been open since May and the waitlist during mealtimes still gets long unless your party is willing to sit in the alfresco area where diners can usually get a table faster. The thing we like about their menu is how they offer a satisfying amount of other meal options apart from their ramen specialty. We're talking salads, rolls, and rice meals. But do note that some menu items are marked with a yellow asterisk that indicate that they are not allowed for takeout. This is probably because of their more highly perishable nature. If a big meal is what you're after, then the set meals are sure to hit the spot as these include your choice of signature ramen and some sort of viand with rice, as well as a cup of tea and sliced fruits for dessert. For my very first Ramen Kuroda meal, we went with the Ramen Teriyaki Pork Don set and the Ramen Curry Rice set. We selected the Kuro Ramen, a tonkotsu soup with roast garlic flavor, and true enough, there is a toasted garlic taste with a somewhat nutty flavor. The garlic has mellowed from the way it was cooked, so there's no sharp spiciness to this that you would commonly find in raw garlic. The soup has a lot of flavor to it without being too rich, and hindi rin malansa yung pork broth nila, which also applies to their other ramen soup bases. The teriyaki pork don seems to use the same part of the pork that they also use for the chashu in the ramen, but in slightly thicker cuts. It's very tender with no bones, and the teriyaki sauce gives it a sweet, savory taste that I could associate with humba. The other soup base we selected was the aka ramen, also a tonkotsu but described as having a spicy taste. And despite the somewhat alarming red-orange tinge of the soup, the spiciness is mild and tolerable that it isn't a shock to the system. This doesn't have the garlicky flavor of the Kuro ramen, so it also registers as less rich. The noodles have a little bite to them but are still soft enough. These two became our default ramen flavor orders. By the way, I was also able to try the barikara ramen for takeout, so I didn't get to take any videos of that, but I have to say that it is immensely spicy. The kind that causes you to sweat and sniffle repeatedly while eating it. Suffice it to say, I much prefer the mildness of the aka ramen that I can easily adjust with a few sprinklings of togarashi. The curry rice also makes use of the same pork as in the teriyaki don. It's chopped up into bite-sized pieces, so it looks like there's way more curry than meat, but it feels like there's an okay amount in there. Surprisingly, the curry sauce isn't the sweet kind that I would usually expect from a Japanese curry. The Japanese version has a distinct fruity taste, and some recipes call for the addition of either apple or pear. But Ramen Kuroda's has more of a smoky taste and a thickish consistency. The tea that comes with the set is the roast rice kind, and you can actually request this free of charge even if you don't order a set meal. On another visit, we went for the chashumen versions of their signature ramen because we wanted bigger portions of meat. So instead of just one chashu slice, there are 4 in each chashumen bowl. The salmon roll contains all the typical California roll ingredients like kani, cucumber, and mango, but with some very fresh salmon slices on top. When I say fresh, I mean that the salmon has a vibrant coloring with no dark patches, but do note that the salmon rolls are not available for takeout. The chicken nanban, despite being eaten after the ramen, maintains its super crispy breading. It's topped with a light mayo-based sauce, their take on the tartar sauce, that has a zesty flavor. This pairs well with the fried chicken since the sauce isn't overly creamy. If you like your rice bowls masabaw, then the oyakodon won't disappoint. I would call this sulit for the ratios of chicken chunks to egg to rice, and it doesn't feel like dinaan nila sa amount of egg since you can definitely spot the pieces of chicken in there. An order of the ebi tempura includes 3 pieces of deep fried shrimp and a piece of fried okra as well. This was pretty standard fare, and we'd order this again the next time we crave some tempura. The chahan or Japanese fried rice can be ordered alone or as a set with ramen. And since our party that day comprised of garlic lovers, we just had to get the Kuro chahan. And if you're wondering if the Kuro ramen Kuro chahan combination might be too much garlic on garlic, you need not worry as the tastes aren't redundant. The chahan has visible meat chunks and it's well seasoned with pepper. While their signature ramen options continue to be classic choices, I was curious enough to want to sample their specialty ramen selection as well. Basing off the product photo on the menu, I was surprised to find that the curry ramen is actually served with some shaved cheese. And fittingly so, as the liquid in there feels less like a broth and more like a pasta sauce because of its thick consistency. In fact, even the noodles they use are thick. The curry sauce again isn't the fruity kind, and the cheese has this vaguely buttery, milky, sweet flavor that you'd get from the blocks of processed cheese sold in groceries. It isn't the sharp kind, it adds some creaminess and mild sweetness to balance out the non-fruity flavor of the curry once you mix it well. Personally kasi, I find na medyo nakakaumay yung cheese by itself, but the combination works after mixing everything together. Next up is the ebi tsukemen that is served with a generous amount of concentrated broth. The menu was a little vague, saying that the dip is a rich soup, but it tastes like there's seafood stock used for this and it doesn't come across as too rich. The flavor is distinctly different from their ramen soup base. There's a little kick of spice, but I wouldn't dub this as a spicy dish. There are 2 small pieces of ebi furai that you could consume in 1 or 2 bites, and another surprise is that there's also cheese inside, the same kind they use in the curry ramen. On yet another visit, we ordered the Kuroda healthy bento set, and I have to say that their sets are good for 2 already. The teriyaki sauce of the salmon is light and doesn't taste like it's a glaze, and the salmon is fully cooked but still flaky. From the menu photos, the mentai aemen seems similar to a maze soba or mazemen because of the lack of soup and the included bowl of rice. But the flavor is quite different as the mentai or fish roe is mixed with some vegetables in mayonnaise so that it's reminiscent of a kani salad. And the actual sauce is sesame oil based. I asked if there's any konbu vinegar served with this, which you would usually drizzle over a maze soba, but I was told that this doesn't come with that, though they could bring me some vinegar if I wanted. I ultimately decided against it because I wanted to try this the way they originally make it. So I would describe this as kind of like a Japanese version of a pasta salad because it's generally a room temp dish with the only warm ingredient in the bowl being the pork chunks. The sauces, mayo and sesame oil are more like salad dressings, and I like that this dish has a lot of different textures with the addition of the julienne nori and the tiny crunchy pieces of fried batter or panko. So if you are a fan of sesame oil, this is worth a try. It's quite a filling dish and I could just finish the noodles and not touch the rice and be full, but I tried it anyway for the experience. Once the noodles were mostly finished, I sprinkled some togarashi and ate it with rice. This is a great combo so that the flavor of the dish doesn't get muted with the addition of the rice. If you enjoyed this video, please show us some love by liking and subscribing.